All right, man. We just dropped a episode of the Ultimate Browns, and right when I was uploading and editing that episode, we had some breaking news that came down a little bit earlier. And it comes from none other than one Deshaun Watson. If you thought he was gone, if you thought the cat was not coming back, uh, let's get to it. Let's go ahead and get right to the breaking news. This is from Tom Pelissero. He said, and it first came from Ian Rapoport. Sources in the Browns and quarterback Deshaun Watson have agreed to terms on a contract restructure easing the salary cap burden for years to come. The rework deal also signals that Watson is expected to be on the Browns next season. This is about the cap after his deal is up. Tom Pelissero also adds a little something to that. He says the adjustment to Watson's deal or contract doesn't impact his $73 million cap hit number in 2025, which can happen later. It lets the Browns spread the cap hit at the end of his contract, which expires in 2026. A strong sign that Watson will be on or be in Cleveland for the next 2 years at least. So when you take a look at it, a lot of people will take and look at it in terms of, does this mean that Deshaun Watson is going to be the starting quarterback next year? Does this mean Deshaun Watson is going to be back? I think what it does signal is that Deshaun Watson, as the both articles talked about, it will be back in Cleveland for the next 2 years. The Cleveland Browns, and we talked about this a lot. This cap hit was massive. People talked about just cutting bait, getting rid of Deshaun Watson and doing what they needed to do. But the problem with that is when you're dealing with that amount of a cap hit, you're not going to be able to just cut somebody loose. We talked about that massive cap hit. That was always going to be something that the Cleveland Browns were not going to do. And I've also talked about the fact that if you can restructure his deal, you have to go ahead and do that because it gives you more cap space and operating space to go about fixing your roster. You have multiple positions that you need to either upgrade. You talk about the quarterback position as well. You don't have very much cap space to go out and find any other quarterbacks. If you are in the free agent market, we've been hearing stuff about Kirk Cousins. We've been hearing stuff about possibly Justin Fields or somebody else that you could possibly get. But when you talk about that cap number, they could not field a team if you decided to just cut Deshaun Watson. So I've been one of the people saying that they're not going to cut him. Now, the question is, does that mean that he's going to be in contention to play quarterback for you next year? Well, look, if you don't bring back anybody back, you have DTR right now. You have Jameis Winston. They've seemed to move on from Jameis Winston. They've seemed to say that Jameis Winston they've seen enough of what's going on with Jameis Winston that now they're moving to DTR. If you decide that Jameis Winston isn't the guy, and you decide that DTR, which he does not look like he's the guy right now, if you decide DTR is not the guy, that leaves Deshaun Watson sitting there. Now, if you're not going to be in contention for Sam Darnold, who I think will go back to Minnesota, if you're not going to be in contention for Sam Darnold, if you're not going to get Justin Fields, because Justin Fields can go right back to Pittsburgh. If he's looking at Russell Wilson and looking at that roster and looking at what we talked about on the UCSS today, he could very well much go right back on to Pittsburgh and sign another short-term deal there and wait to take over when Russell Wilson's done. You look at that would leave options for Jameis Winston and options for DTR and option for Deshaun Watson. If you've already decided that you don't want Jameis Winston, if you already saw what you see in DTR, then you have Deshaun Watson back on your roster. I keep trying to tell people this, man. You either going to have to make a decision and figure out what you're going to do. And Myles Garrett and Joe Bitonio are already putting those decisions on you. They've already said, let us know what the plan is. Well, so far, part of their plan is restructuring this deal to get some more flexibility so that they can field a team and so that they don't have to take the massive cap hit, right? This also talks about they can spread that out over a number of years after he's done. But for those who thought that they were going to cut him and let him go, that wasn't going to happen. Now, could they decide to keep him on and then talk about saying, hey, we want to send Deshaun Watson home or tell him not to come back to the facility, that could be all possible. He could still get his money. He could still be on the roster, so to speak, but he wouldn't be in the building. Those are things that are up for debate as well. But but just to read, if you just tuning in, this is Ian Rapoport sources, the Cleveland Browns and quarterback Deshaun Watson have agreed to terms on a contract restructure, easing the salary cap burden for years to come. The reworked deal also signals that Watson is expected to be on the Cleveland Browns next season. This is about the cap space after his deal is up. So he expects for him to do that. They expect him to be on the roster. Technically, I don't know if that denotes he's going to be in the building or not, but he's going to be on the roster the next 2 years, and they're going to carry him because of that massive cap hit that they talked about. Tom Pelissero adds to that. The adjustment to Deshaun Watson's contract does not impact his $73 million cap hit in 2025, which can happen later. It lets the Browns spread the cap hit at the end of the contract, which expires after 2026. A strong sign Watson will be in Cleveland for the next 2 years. So let me go ahead and we'll go ahead and remove that, and we'll get to some of your comments. We'll talk about it because here's the thing. We want to know, what do you think? 196 people in here. Hit that like button, hit the button in the comment section. Let me know what you think this means for Deshaun Watson, what you think this means for the Browns. For me, I've already said this. I like my teams to be decisive in what they're doing. I like them to be quick on the trigger and say, listen, this is what we're going to go with, and this is how we're going to go with. The problem when you have this is you're going to have a lot of people that's going to send a mixed message to. Some people out there is like, listen, I couldn't tolerate the Browns this year when Deshaun Watson was playing and he wasn't playing very well. Now for a fact he's going to be on the roster for 2 years. Now, guess what? He may not necessarily be in the building, but look, if you don't make some sort of decision on your quarterback and you don't think that you can get up to get a Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, then you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do at quarterback. You still haven't figured anything out. If it was me, I would have never went to DTR. I would have kept Jameis Winston in the fold. I'd have kept Jameis Winston in there, and I would have named and said, listen, Jameis Winston is going to be my guy going into next year, barring some sort of, some sort of crazy catastrophe, because the way things are shaping up right now, it just does not seem like the Cleveland Browns have a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow when it comes to quarterback. We talked about it on Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show today. We talked about the fact that when you have a Kirk Cousins out there, Sean King says he can't play no more. Dustin Fox said he can't play no more. He's washed. He's going to get you 68 wins. Right? Justin Fields, people talked about. Tyvis Powell said, listen, Justin Fields, if he was smart, he would go back to Pittsburgh and back up, Russell Wilson. And then when Russell's done, he has an organization that's known to draft well. He's going to have structure. He's going to have some stability there. Right? Know the system, know everything. Right? So that takes those two guys off the board. I told you Sam Darnold is he's not leaving Minnesota. If Sam Darnold makes it to the playoffs, which he probably will, if he wins a playoff game, all bets are off. I'm franchising him. He's going to be there on 1 to 2 year deal. We'll let J.J. McCarthy come up a little slower. We'll let him get into the system. He's a rookie. We'll figure something out. But Sam Darnold ain't going nowhere. Now that puts you at a place where you still back. And the guy that people don't really want to be quarterback, guys, it's like, I got to see something else. You right back in the case. You got Deshaun Watson right back in the fold. And I told you, he's going to be on the roster. You can't get rid of him. The roster is what it is. So we want to get your instant reaction from it. Some people, this may be a nothing burger, because you said I've already expected Deshaun Watson to continue to be on the roster. Doesn't mean he's going to play. To some of you out there, it may be kind of a revelation, like, whoa, what does this mean? Like, this sounds like this keeps him back in the Cleveland Browns uniform for 2 more years, and we don't know what could happen. And let me just throw this out there as well. It's all been about the dome game. It's all about the dome. It's all about the stadium. Because, I mean, what do you have to really sell? I mean, this is the big news you got. This is all about the stadium. It's all about keeping Browns fans at bay and telling them it's not so much about the next couple of years here. Because I talked about it earlier today on UCSS. I don't know specifically how you sell Myles Garrett on anything. I don't know how you specifically sell Joe Bitonio, who is down in the mix and talking about, I want to see a plan. So the plan looks like we're going to restructure Watson, keep him for 2 years, and we still need a quarterback. Let's get to some of these comments. Let's see. Force Man 47. This doesn't really change anything. Then they aren't committing cap suicide, but cutting him. He'll get cut post June 1st next year, like Jack Duffin has been saying for the last 8 weeks. Also, if they cut him this offseason, it was almost $150 million dead cap, then half the cap, which is, I said this too. Force Man 47. I tried to tell some of my brethren, I just can't see it, G, but send him home. Get him home. I don't want him in the building. Just bite the bullet and cut. You guys stop playing. It's like saying, hey, bite the bullet and have a home foreclosure. Nah, you don't at all costs. You don't let nobody foreclose on your home. That's not, it's hard to come back from that. Just the same way that $150 million cap hit is hard to come back from. I'm sorry, dog. Let's see what else you talk about. With this restructure, a cut in 2026, post June 1st, hits are at 38, 39, and 87 in 2027 when the cap is a lot higher. Guys at Sport Track explain this right away. It's not saying that he's the starter. Now, here's the thing. This is also a thing that a lot of people say, look, it don't matter he's a starter, but Mary Kay has already told you that Deshaun Watson is going to come back and compete. You take I'm just taking from what they telling me. They just telling me. I'm just saying. Let's see. They are going to bring him back. Next year could be fun. This is getting wild, man. It's getting wild. Hey, look, Watson coming back, man. Big GOG. This team is a soap opera. I told you. Yes, it's a soap opera. Listen, you think long, you think wrong. If you don't believe that Deshaun Watson is at least in their plan somewhat, you're crazy. Because you've already, look, think about it like this. If he wasn't in no plans, why would they sit Jameis Winston? Why would you even play DTR? You're just opening the door. Because if Jameis Winston was playing well, I would have just, and I know he throws picks, and I told you, I was like, I know Jameis ain't the long-term answer. I said that a couple of weeks ago. I said, man, he throws these picks. But for all those people that don't want to see Deshaun Watson anymore, the worst thing that could have happened was them sitting Jameis Winston. Because at least if they would have kept Jameis Winston in the game, there was some incentive to say, well, we're going to roll with Jameis next year. Right now, you tell me in the chat. You let me know. We'll just get right to it. I like to prognosticate. Right now, who do you believe? Just write it in there. Is the favorite for the Cleveland Browns to start game 1? If it's DTR, put DTR. If it's Jameis Winston, put Winston. If it's Deshaun Watson, put Deshaun Watson. But if it's a person not on this roster, put a question mark. Put the question mark in there. Because right now, if you trying to tell me you're lying to yourself. It could be DCR starting the last 3 games. He doesn't look like he's much to write home about. Jameis Winston, they done moved him to the 3rd string quarterback. And Deshaun Watson, Mary Kay said that he might have an opportunity to compete, and he's going to be on the roster for 2 years. So all things equal, right now the Cleveland Browns look like everybody got a shot to play quarterback, including me and you. I'm just saying. Because they're not going to get, they're not going to get no top 5 quarterback. Come on now. You know they're going to do. And even if they did, think about it, even if they did have the number 1 or number 2 picks, some of you would not even want them to draft one of these dudes. Some of you don't want no parts of Shedeur Sanders at all. None. Nope. I don't want Coach Prime. Nope. So where does that leave you? Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe. Are you watching Dylan Gabriel against Ohio State? Are you in the Will Howard camp? Where are you at? Because I would say everybody that I mentioned has an opportunity to be a quarterback for the Cleveland Browns because they haven't told us anything. They haven't sold me a plan at all. A-Cap Rocky, I like that name. A-Cap Rocky 25 says, we need to draft a QB and put him through the Packers process, let him learn on the side, and hope that they're ready to take over after Watson is out. So A-Cap Rocky 25, he says Watson. He says Watson is the guy. Not Winston or DTR. He feels that this might lead to Deshaun Watson being back in the fold. What do you say? Let me get to another one. King of all blunders. Browns never get it right. This means they're running it back. So dumb. Bye-bye, Miles. Also, let me know in the comment section, does this mean that the Cleveland Browns, the signifying of Deshaun Watson's extension of his contract, a restructuring, it's not really an extension, it's a restructure. Let me not do clickbait stuff. It's a restructure. Does this mean to you that this is a smooth run it back? Does this mean Barry, Stefanski, DePodesta, Watson, Dorsey, Schwartz? Does this mean everybody's running it back? Is this everybody? You let me know. Learn from who? Yeah, we don't learn. I don't like the odds. An already terrible playing quarterback trying to come back after an Achilles injury. TBE Trucking says Ravens win again. He'll be on the PUP list to start 2025. I think he will. That's a guarantee. 435 people in here on an impromptu. 440. Hit that like button. We're giving you 2-3 episodes now. By the way, if you are all listening, make sure you check out my episode. I just dropped something on Ultimate Browns, and it was my episode for today. I went back and did something special. I said, this is the reason the Browns is always failing. They do the same thing over and over again. I take you through a blast from the past of all of the crazy stuff that they just said and why would we believe them now and they're on the right track. So make sure you check that out. I dropped that earlier. It's in the playlist on Ultimate Browns, so you guys should check that out after you leave here. Hit that like button as well. Molten Metal says Watson will be placed on the PUP list all next year. That might be. And then Bigfoot Walker says, don't be delusional. This means Deshaun is here for the next 2 years at least. King of all blunders. Great. Another year of all hating each other over a dumb quarterback. Hey, look, I keep trying to tell y'all, the problem that I have the most with the Cleveland Browns is this. The Cleveland Browns, they fail to make tough decisions when they should. The tough decision should be this. If you didn't want Deshaun Watson coming back to be the quarterback, you should have signified that, listen, we're going to find a quarterback and we're going to give him every opportunity, a la Jameis Winston, to take this job. If you still don't want Deshaun Watson to be the quarterback and you want to go with the youth movement, you say we're going to have Jameis Winston be the quarterback We will look at a contingency plan if Jameis does not decide to sign with us. All things point to Jameis would be interested in doing that. And you say, okay, well, we'll take Kirk Cousins and we're going to draft a quarterback in this draft that we like, sit him behind said bridge quarterback, and we're going to move on. We restructure this deal. We'll take the cap hit later on, but Deshaun not going to play. Or if you just want to say, we like DTR, we're going to give DTR the opportunity to play these last 3 games, give him every opportunity to win the job coming back to compete next year. You've done none of that. All you've said is mixed words and mixed messages. And trust me, when you get guys back in the room and you don't make no decisions and you don't make no real moves, you can't sell that to nobody else. Basically, they called your bluff. Joe Batonio and Myles Garrett said, what you doing? Especially at quarterback. We need to know that. We need to know before we make any decisions about whether Joe said, I'm going to retire Cleveland Brown, but it might be after this year or next year. You let me know. So the Browns, it's up in the air. Let's get to what y'all think. Who's going to be the quarterback? They're going to cut him. They're going to cut him. They needed to make room. They can't cut him. They're not going to cut him. If they cut him, they take the cap hit. That's not going to happen. Kirk Cousins can't play. Yeah, we're aware of that. You take a look at this year. But some would argue that we got a lot of people in our quarterback room that can't play. You also say no retread, just teams need a fresh start. I'm asking y'all, does this mean that everybody coming back? Karen says, oh my gosh, what are we doing? I'm just tired of hearing this name as a Browns fan. Who do we have to look forward to? What do we have to look forward to? On point. Let's get to it. Darnold has 2 receivers, a tight end in the running game. You just say, no. Let's see. Joe Brooks says it will be hilarious to see Watson playing next year. Some people, that won't be very funny. TBE Trucking. Thank you so much for the super chat. I'm not a Browns fan, but I feel bad for y'all. That's a shame. We got people in here that are not even Browns fans and that's giving us super chats. And he just said, I'm just doing it because I feel bad for y'all. Mitty says, draft Cam Ward if available. Let Deshaun play the rest of his contract out and start trading players that don't want to be here and draft picks higher or want to be here for draft picks. Hire John Dorsey and Mike Vrabel. Let the rookie learn the system. Force Man 47 says it will be Kirk to be a stopgap. You talk about Kirk Cousins. Bean says, so I think this is during the area of the podcast where I said, let me know who you think going to be the quarterback next year. And what I wanted to do is to get as many different prospects as we could because I don't have no idea. Let's get to Force Man says Kirk Cousins. Bean says it's going to be Cam Ward. I don't know how they're going to move up to get Cam Ward. That means they putting some picks up there. Poised for duty says Jameis. Bill Studd says it's going to be someone other than that's on the roster. Tribe of Judah 77 says Wilson was never a Pro Bowler with great protection. Watson with good protection was also all pro. Force Man says question mark. Alfredo Garcia has Daniel Jones. Let's see. Big OG says question mark. David Hahn says question mark. Ray says me. G. Bush, you gonna be the quarterback. Kyle Bowens question mark. Ombre says Deshaun Watson. Super Space. We got a Watson. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. A couple of Jameis Winston. Here's another Watson. Let's see. Joel says you have to be the number 2 overall pick to get Cam Ward. Browns won't have that. Quarterback competition. These names are so painful. Jackson Dart. Let's see. Our franchise quarterback is still in college, Arch Manning. Watson is not the guy. TBE Truckee says Deshaun Watson probably will end up being there. We got another super chat. Christopher, thank you so much for the super chat. As long as Deshaun Watson is carrying clipboard in 25, this is just a cap move for the future. I better not see him attempting a pass as our quarterback again. We appreciate the super chat, man. As always, man. 532 people in here on the impromptu. We appreciate you guys pulling up on us. If you have not known, breaking news is Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns have restructured his deal. This deal is not something that they're adding more money to. Is to ease the cap hit and to spread the money out over the next 3 or 4 years in 2025, 26, and 27. So that is what we're talking about. However, this also cloudies and continues to muddy up what the quarterback situation is with the Browns. We have no clear synopsis, no clear judgment, and no clear direction on where they plan on going next year. DTR has played poorly. Jameis Winston gave us a spark. Jerry Jeudy wants Jameis Winston to be the quarterback. But Jameis Winston threw a lot of interceptions. Deshaun Watson was he was awful in the first part of this year. However, when you got a guy that's once again on the roster, making a lot of money, and you have no other directions to go, free agency or look like in the draft, what are you going to do? Myles Garrett is asking questions. Joe Batonio's asking questions. Heck, Denzel Ward said, I'm going to be behind the clipboard looking at Myles' shoulder, like what y'all tell Myles Garrett. So these are all just different things. Somebody want to get in and tap in on this. Is GBA-SP says, I feel like Fields is the closest to a correct answer we can make. He has upsides with little downside, young enough that can still sell him either on a long or short-term option and fits the scheme. For me, I think Justin Fields is probably your best case scenario. He still has something left to be shown. You still have an imagination about what he can do. He can use his legs. Here's the problem. I don't want Justin Fields nowhere near the Dorsey game plan. That throw the ball 50 times a game with no run game is not going to do it. We don't even know what's going on with the offensive coordinator. Does this mean Dorsey is out next year? Does this mean Kevin Stefanski's taking back over play calls? Does this mean everybody's coming back? For a 3-and-something team, this is the most up in the air I've ever seen anything. Everything's in the air. You don't know what's up with JOK. Nick Chubb is hurt again. Offensive line has got old overnight. You don't know if they're trying to, shop Myles Garrett. You don't know none of this stuff. You don't know who the quarterback is. You don't know who they targeted. You don't even know the general manager. I don't even know what Deep Podesta does. I don't know. I just don't know. Kyle, do you think a new head coach will be able to revamp this team the way Atkinson has done it with the Cavs? Thank you so much for asking that question, because I'm going to tell you this. I was one of the detractors, and I was one of the big people that said, JB, they got to figure something out here. This ain't it with JB. They need to figure it out with JB Bickerstaff, and right now. And the problem was a lot of people said 51 wins with JB Bickerstaff, 51, multiple playoff time. They went to the playoffs multiple times, 3 years. Got a first-round win against the Magic. And you want to tell me that you're going to get rid of this team? You're going to get rid of the coach that was, part of getting that team to 51 wins? And I said, yes, absolutely, we do. Because there's shortcomings. There's shortcomings in his game. His pick and roll offense, it was too pick and roll dominant. There wasn't enough movement. He didn't put enough pressure on the players. He still handled them with kid gloves. He didn't, when it came to X's and O's, he didn't know what he was doing. And the offense was stagnant. All we did is watch Donovan Mitchell shoot at the top of the key, and guys like Evan Mobley never developed their game. Guys like Darius Garland regressed in their game. You get Kenny Atkinson in, all of a sudden you have a clear strategy, clear way you want to play the game, a clear way you want to do things. Ball's moving, guys are happy, guys are playing the optimum way. And look, you got the best record in the league, only 4 losses. Best record in the NBA. Coaching matters. Coaching matters. And what you do as a coach helps develop guys or it helps guys regress. And all I know is that sometimes I be feeling like, do we need a fresh set of eyes on this? A fresh way to think about certain things. Because we've been here 5 years and we've been talking about the same thing. Kyle, go check out my blog. I just dropped it on Ultimate Browns. It talks about how the Cleveland Browns continue to repeat these same different tropes and different things and never really get any better. And are we better than we were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago? I don't know. Well, that means they ain't tearing it down. Another wasted season upcoming, man. Miles and Chubb are done. Watch. Willie says, this is a clear indication that the entire front office needs terminated. Watch my first Browns game in 63. Frank Ryan threw 3 touchdowns versus Eagles and Jim. Terrible because his team is trash. Watch the quarterback. What quarterback can thrive with no protections and penalties and key drops? Can't ignore G's coordination today. Blue hat, blue shirt, blue watch. Can't be mad at it. Let's see. Let's continue on. Man, we got a lot of comments in here. Brock Idol. What's up, man? I see you over there. AB and Kevin Stefanski are Steppenwolf types. And they want the same personality in their quarterback. That's why Winston can't come back. Trash O-line is the problem. We're still talking about it. Hey, Bean, we are at pick 4. Someone's bound to fall and might end up being Ward. Sanders going to New York, Travis Hunter, New England. We might end up with 3 because we ain't winning the next 2 weeks. Now that, Bean, I can guarantee you are correct on. We're not getting no dub this week. Carson Wentz with Curtis Rourke as a backup. Man, that isn't shout out OU. Oh yeah. Shout out to that man. Alex Robinson, man. Current draft order has Browns number 4. New England and Jacksonville have quarterbacks, so they could get Cam Ward if no one trades up. Do you trust that they can identify the best quarterback, and do you trust they can develop them? We'll see. Dallas Mail says, let the Browns leave. Just start all over with an expansion team with different owners. Maybe we can start from scratch and maybe build something. You know, the problem with that, my man Dallas, is this is a family legacy. The Haslams will own this team forever. To own a football team is to have a golden ticket, in the words of Willy Wonka. When you got an NFL franchise and you about to build a dome and you about to own all the land by the airport and all the land that sits on the dome, they are going to print money there. They're going to print money. They are never giving that up. All we can hope is that the Cleveland Browns find a quarterback, find somebody competent in the front office that you can pair with to get a Patrick Mahomes with an Andy Reid. And then once you have that kind of football synergy, you can overcome some of this stuff. But other than that, Jacob Durr says G. Bush stays yapping about nothing. Well, they stay hanging out with me. 632 people in here enjoying that yapping, including you, Jacob, including you. Thank you so much for the nice compliment. We need a new coach. We need a new general manager. We need to get rid of everybody. We are stuck with Watson, so hopefully he can be a good backup while we draft a quarterback. Hey, P. Rothstein, 216, thank you so much. And we thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. Well, look, we pulled up. We showed up. This is going to make very interesting work. If you want to, make sure you check out my other blog on the Ultimate Browns. You can check that out over there. It's up right now, ready to go. 6:34 in here. Hit the like button as well. Coming up, if you are in the Cleveland area, I will be tomorrow. Me and Earl the Pearl will be on 92.3 The Fan. My barbershop show will be up and running. We'll be talking about this. We'll get to some Buckeyes. We'll get to, the Cavs are going to play a little bit later on. So go watch those guys as well. And as always, make sure you check out our spinoff shows, Ultimate Browns, Ultimate Guardians, Ultimate Cavaliers, and, of course, UCSS. With that being said, you never know when G. Bush going to show up. I keep the Clippers with me. You see back there, Fresh Cut on Sports, all that good stuff. Make sure you check that out. And as always, even though we be having some crazy stuff to talk about, go Browns.